Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the June LinkedIn Live Edition with Steve White. Hello, I hope everybody is well. Live life as a learning lab. Where does that come from? Life is a journey. You're never losing. You're either winning and learning or you're just learning. There's no such thing as losing in life. So welcome to the June edition of LinkedIn Live with Steve White. First of all, welcome. Thank you so much for joining this monthly broadcast as we talk about how do you live your best life? How do you identify your purpose? How do you lead a life of success, impact, and creating a great legacy? So welcome. Why don't we do this LinkedIn Live every month? Again, first of all, thank you for joining. But I discovered a while ago my purpose and why. Remember that Mark Twain quote, the two most important days in your life, the day you're born, the second is when you know why. And for me, early in my life, I realized that my purpose, my reason for being on this earth was how do I create a table of prosperity for as many people as possible? Because based on my circumstances, the level of success I was able to achieve is because so many people gave me a hand up, not a handout, but a hand up. And that's very, very important. And so I realized that the reason I was blessed with so many people in my life, that was my purpose. How do I now pay it forward? How do I pay it back and make a difference for others? And my hope is that by doing this monthly LinkedIn Live, along with some of the other activities, I will help create that table of prosperity for you. I will save a seat for you so you can live your best life based on my successes and certainly my failures. Because remember, we talked about you're never losing in life. You're always learning and you're growing. So that's why we do it. And this month, we're focused on living life as a learning lab. Most of you know I wrote my first book. It came out last March. Thank you to everyone that purchased the book. If you haven't checked out the book, go to my website, stevewhitespeaks.com. You can read an excerpt. You can get a good sense of the book. And if you're interested, please purchase it. I would be eternally grateful. But in my book, I talk about these 7 pathways that I believe lead to a life of success, impact, and legacy. Number 1 is find your fight, identify your fight. Number 2, focus on the real prize because there are a lot of distractions out there. Number 3, live life as a learning lab. Number 4, think and act like a business. Number 5, own your attitude and effort. Number 6 is navigate uncertainty. And then number 7, creating road dog relationships. So in my book, I talk about these 7 pathways that lead to a life of success, impact, and legacy. And during our LinkedIn Lives, each month, I'm going to focus on one of those key pathways. And today, we're focused on pathway number 3, living life as a learning lab. So let's jump in. So first of all, thank you for all your support. If you follow me on social media, particularly on LinkedIn and Facebook, thank you. For those of you who have not signed up for my email, please do so. Go to my website, stevewhitespeaks.com. All the information there is to get my monthly newsletter, follow what I'm doing, different speaking engagements. We like to believe we've created a website that's almost like a little learning center where you can go and hang out and listen to podcasts, and read up on the latest things relative to leadership. So we believe it is a learning lab that you can go and enhance your knowledge about leadership and living a life of success and impact. So thank you for all of your support, and thank you again for joining me on the June edition of LinkedIn Live with Steve White. So living life as a learning lab. So let's talk about that. If you're not learning, you're not growing, and there's no such thing as staying in place. You're falling behind. If you're not learning, you're not growing, and you're not staying in place, you're actually falling behind. So this idea of living a life of constant learning is critical to leading a life of success, impact, and legacy. Now, why is this so important? Number 1, learning is transformative. the more knowledge you have, the more perspectives you have, the more angles that you can look at different issues and have that ability to ask the right questions and pull the layers off of that will allow you to get to the heart of the matter. And as you think about living a life of success, legacy, and impact, it allows you to be transformative because you're always feeding yourself, which then allows you to look at things in a totally different light versus a consistent way of looking at things. So why? Learning is transformative. Number two, learning makes us better. So if you're not learning, you're not growing. But what it does, it also learning makes us better risk takers because now we have the ability, because we're always in a constant curiosity mode, we're always in a constant learning mode. It allows you to look at situations from several different viewpoints, and now you can be more aggressive in taking risks, whether it's a career, your own business, how you lead your family. This idea of learning how to learn and learning how to process knowledge gives you the benefit of having different viewpoints, which then allows you to lean in more and even take more risks. So number one, why? Learning is transformative. Number two, it'll make you a better risk taker because nothing gets accomplished in life without taking some risks. And it's actually good for your health, believe it or not, this idea of learning and growing. I know for me, I personally feel better the more knowledge I gain. You'll see up behind me, I'm always reading books, and I'm really focused on health books and how I can get smarter about my health, how I can take care of myself so I can see my little boy Stevie march down the aisle, graduate from college, have grandkids, and all of those things. So that's a big focus of mine. So learning is fundamental. It's transformative. It will allow you to take greater risk, and it's good for your health because it'll keep you inspired as you go forward. Now, how do you create a life as a learning life? How do you think about that? So I'm going to give you 4 things that I believe will be helpful. 4 things. We talked about the why. Hopefully we're all in agreement. Learning in a continuous way is critical and important. So hopefully there's not a lot of debate about that and we're aligned. Let's talk about how to do it. And there are a number of ways, but these are 4 things that work for me. Number 1 is reflect to understand. I truly believe that daily reflection, for me, it's daily prayer. Some people meditate. Some people take long walks to clear their head. Whatever works for you. But every morning, one of the reasons I get up early before Barbita and Stevie, before they get up, it gives me an opportunity to reflect. Where am I? Where am I going? Where do I think I have gaps that I need to close, that I need to go get more knowledge or understanding, or I need to seek out help? This idea of constant reflection on where you are and where you're going, where your gaps are critical to maintaining a mindset of curiosity. Because learning and growing cannot happen unless you have a level of curiosity. You know, it's interesting, when we are born, we come with a plate of curiosity. Why am I here? How did these parents get picked for me? How do I walk? How do I eat? You're filled with curiosity, and through life, if we're not careful, we get worn down and we stop being curious. So reflect to understand, allows you that opportunity to keep your curiosity genes moving and going forward so you can stay in the moment and stay curious. Number 2, research to understand it. As you think about your why, we started off our LinkedIn Live series this year with everything starts with finding your fight and your purpose. And in my case, how do I create a table of prosperity for as many people as possible? And so therefore, I'm always looking and searching for books and articles and people that can help me get better help me get better in this area. So that's really, really important as you move forward. So how do you think about that, in a very, very smart way? I think is very, very, very important. So that's number 2. Number 3, scan to understand. Scan to understand, I think, is very, very critical as you think about it. So we talked about reflect to understand, research to understand, and then scan to understand. Scan your surroundings, scan your environment. Where do you see things that are working that fit with your fight and your purpose, and then seek those out? One of the things I love to share is I have more mentors than most people can imagine. But most of my mentors don't even know they're mentoring me, but I scan, I watch, I observe how people do things. I certainly know who I am, but how do I enhance my ability to create that table of prosperity for others? So I scan and I look for opportunities where I can get better and identify people that might be doing it in a unique way that I can maybe grab a little bit here and grab a little bit there. So that's very, very important. And then finally, connect to understand. We'll talk about committing to road dog relationships in a later broadcast. But this idea of surrounding yourself with people, connecting with others that are constantly feeding you. As it relates to relationships, they're either adding value or they're not adding anything. There's no in between. They're either adding or they're subtracting. And so who are you connecting with? Are they connected to your purpose and your fight? And having those people around you, I call it my kitchen cabinet. I regularly seek them out on how to be a better father, how to be a better husband, how to be a better business person. I have an eclectic group in my kitchen cabinet that I can connect with regularly, that's constantly challenging me and feeding me and pouring into me in a way that allows me to be the best I can. So let's talk about, wrap up that pretty quickly. Live life as a learning lab. There are 4 ways that I believe are critical to doing this. Number 1, reflect to understand. Create this space each and every day, even if it's for 5 minutes. I try to take a good 30 minutes plus or so to really reflect. Whatever works for you, carve out that for you each day. Number 2, research to understand. Find different things that will feed your purpose in your fight and then go for there. For me, once a month, I go into the library. I take all my books and my notes and my computer and I go in and I spend a half a day every month in the library, sometimes grabbing different magazines, articles, things that I think will help me be the best I can be. Number 3, scan to understand. Where do you see opportunity, whether it's podcasts or magazine articles or books? Scan and look for opportunities that feed your purpose. And then finally, identify men and women that are important to you as you live your purpose and fight, that you can connect with and they can feed you. Do an inventory of where you spend your time. I love to tell my son, the 5 people you spend the most time with, I promise you that's who you'll become. Even if you're not sure about it, I promise you, because that level of influence will go a long way in shaping who you are. So live life as a learning lab. Why? Is transformative. Number 2, it allows you to take greater risks. And number 3, I think is actually good for your health. And then how do you create a learning lab as your life as a learning lab? Would love to hear your thoughts. Pop me an email note, send me a post, tell me what works for you. But this idea of reflect to understand, research to understand, scan to understand, and then connect to understand. So thank you again for joining the June edition of LinkedIn Live with Steve White. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found it beneficial. If you did, pop me a note, send me a post, tell me if it made an impact on you in a very, very positive way. So as we wrap up, thank you again for joining the June edition of LinkedIn Live with Steve White. Thank you for following me on social media. Thank you for checking out my website, stevewhitespeaks.com. And for those of you who have purchased my book, Uncompromising, Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate the support. Have a great rest of your month, and I will see you in July.